Hello, friends. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and also somewhat of a lazy boyfriend. My significant other, Rachel, has asked me on a number of occasions to make a video about 741 TryType. I keep saying, of course I will, and then forgetting to do so. But today she asked me to watch Katherine Fauvre's. This is a much better way to get me to make a video. Make me watch someone else's video about it, and then I'll have something to say but this person. So naturally, this is what her video looks like. I'm not going to clip from it because she's kind of intellectual property fussy, but I am going to quote from it plenty. And naturally, after watching it, it's only 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I just thought that is an analytical dumpster fire. No other way to put it. There's nothing there that comprises real analysis about Enneagram. Now, granted, to do real analysis about Enneagram, you have to understand what Enneagram is first. Before I explain what it is and how to analyze 714 properly, or 741 or whatever, let me show you some quotes of the kind of nonsense that she has to say about it. It's the most idealistic type on the Enneagram. With the 4 and the 7, there's a real sense of purpose. Passionate personality with someone that sees many possible outcomes, and it could be that they don't see perfection in what it is, and they continue striving. They're too perfectionistic, maybe. They work hard, but they try to follow some sort of procedure or process, and they expect others to do the same. They're really innovative, and their standards of excellence are really great. However, that can be kind of hard to maintain, and no one can truly do that long term. They're quiet, and they find innovative ways to implement long-lasting change. They're real visionaries. They're happiest when they can create change. Search is for meaning and finding a way not to entertain and produce. They just tend to oscillate between these three centers with, they can be unrealistic. So idealistic they come across as unrealistic. They can become really dispirited if they can't manifest. Anything that they perceive as substandard, they're judgmental of, yet they're also quite altruistic. This is how Katherine Fauvre talks about the 714 TryType. Note, she said nothing of any value at all. If in fact any of those claims, those vague, broad claims, many of them self-contradicting, are in fact true about the 714 TryType, why? What's the mechanism? What's the idea behind it? How does it explain that at all? Well, let's take a look here. To sum up Enneagram, and this Enneagram is not her idea, it's about the fact that there are 3 core negative emotions in a human being, and 3 approaches that one might take to each of those negative emotions. If you are fully confrontational, that is to say, you confront fear, you confront shame, I should say anger. You confront anger, you confront shame, and confront fear, then you will be an 8-5-3 in some way, okay? Now, if instead you avoid anger, you avoid shame, and you avoid fear, then you're a 9-2-7. And lastly, if you withdraw from anger, you're a 1. Withdraw from shame, you're a 4. And withdraw from fear, you're a 6. So then the critical question in analyzing any of these things is, what comprises a meaningful analysis of the 714 personality type? Now, Katherine, I brought you up so I can chat with you directly, and don't give me that look. Don't give me that look. This is your own fault. You brought this on yourself, okay? Now listen, this is how you analyze this shit properly. Enneagram only tells us how people respond, usually in real time, to pressing concerns of negative emotions. So, I'm a fighty guy. That means if you come at me with anger, I'm going to confront it directly with anger. If something bothers me a lot, I'm going to come at it angry. That's my basic approach. I'm not going to worry about not being powerful enough. Okay? If, on the other hand, I don't want to deal with any of that shit, and I'm assuming I'm going to lose most of these battles, I might be appeasing or avoidant, in which case I'm a 9. If, on the other hand, I feel neither any need to be powerful or dominant, nor any concern about being power or dominant, a lack of power or dominance, then I'll take an approach that is 1, which is, well, I tried to convince you, you're still mad, I'm leaving. So, in general, one might say that 1 is the healthiest way to deal with any of these negative emotions. Withdrawal. It's maybe an arbitrary claim, but it makes some sense that with anger, at least, it makes more sense to either withdraw from somebody who's unsatisfiable and angry than it does to either fight them or appease them. So let's look at the avoidant ones again. Now, to avoid, what that means is an example where somebody comes at you. I can't believe you ate all my cookies. 9's gonna say, I'm sorry, let me make you some more cookies, or something like that. Okay? When it comes to shame, if somebody is saying, we've been really busy here, and you seem to be sitting there watching TV, 2 is gonna get up and help. I mean, they'll probably already be helping, right? In other words, they avoid the shame by being proactively helpful. Well, I'm so helpful that nobody can really bust my chops or shame me because I'm doing my part. I'm, in fact, I'm contributing more than I'm taking. If you're avoidant of fear, a 7, and this comes in with the 714 TryType that she was talking about, and where she didn't even begin to analyze it, right? What does it mean to be a 7? It means to avoid fear by ignoring it. No. It is the classic dark playground situation where you've got a paper due in a couple of days for college, and you've had 6 months to work on it, and you haven't started it yet, and you're still watching this video instead of writing it right now. That's avoiding fear. That's how it plays out in the modern world, is procrastination from looming stuff that you have to take care of by playing. So now, note, this is the thing. Note all this nonsense that she said. A bunch of vague, grand statements about the nature of these people. What I'm telling you is Enneagram is much more limited in what it tells us about people than that. It tells us how are they going to respond to things they dread or fear, how are they going to respond to things that potentially make them feel ashamed of themselves, and how are they going to respond to things that either make them angry or anger directed at them. And that's it. So, Katherine, don't give me that look, I said. Well, you brought this on yourself by both being wrong and being a bitch about copyright stuff. Well, I'm sorry, that's what happens. Now let's look at withdrawal. Well, Katherine, I can't help you with that, I'm sorry. You're just gonna, look, it's not my fault that you don't know anything. You made up the word TryType and you think you're some sort of expert on it. You obviously don't know anything, you would have said something meaningful about it. Okay, so withdraw anger. If somebody comes at you, right, and they're angry, it makes a lot of sense to just say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to convince you, and I'm not going to appease you, so I'm out of here. Withdraw shame, this plays out a little differently. It's like, hey, you're not upholding the social mores. You could have dressed more appropriately for the occasion. And I go, screw you, I've got my own rules, I'm a rebel, I don't need to uphold your social mores. Remember, 2 wanted to hop right up and help. 4 wants to say, I don't need your social mores. Here's the thing. I recently have an example of how there's a limit to a 4. Even for me, I'm 784. It may be the case that I have my own social mores, but I definitely want to uphold on the general social mores. So it's only when I'm right, which is most of the time, that I go with 4. For example, I made a song recently, and although it's a great song, I made kind of a critical and ignoring mistake in dealing with the lyrics about a sensitive subject matter, and basically I'm gonna have to take it down and redo the vocals and stuff. And so in that instance, I'm am acknowledging that as a 4, I play by my own rules, but that if you catch me not playing by my own rules by accident, so in other words, if I make an aesthetic mistake like that, I'm not going to lie to myself about it. Okay, and then lastly, withdrawing in fear, 6. This is basically those people who hunker down, defend the nest, build up and rely upon their existing resources. So if there's a big paper coming up, these people will maybe peck away at it a little bit at a time and count on the fact that they've accumulated work on it over time, and make sure their environment's really comfortable when they're working on it and stuff like that, and that way it's not so scary to do. In other words, adjust your environment to make the thing that you're fearing less scary. So then next, let's look at the last one, which is, we didn't talk about confronting shame or confronting fear. Confronting fear. We talked about confronting anger, which is what the top one should say. But to confront shame is 3. What that means is you're basically saying, you want to tell me I'm not following your social rules? Well, look at my fancy car and many golden rings and fancy titles and stuff. When you get to where I am, then you can start talking shit. That's 3. That's confronting shame. Confronting fear, 5, is figuring out why this thing is causing the emotional response in you so that it no longer has that emotional effect. So why am I scared of this paper? I know how to do it. It's easy to do. Maybe if I had more information on this part of it, then it would be more clear to me and I would find it less intimidating or whatever. That's confronting fear is 5. Now let's talk briefly before we go about how these things tend to correlate with MBTI stuff. So 8, confronting anger, tends to correlate with action types and or TE DOMs. So if you're a TE DOM, an SE DOM, or an NE DOM, there's a decent chance you'll have 8 in your TryType. Okay? If you are an FI DOM or a TI DOM, you're probably least likely to have 8, I would guess, although I'm not really sure. 7 seems to correlate with NE and SE a lot as well, but it is not the case that these are hard and fast rules. So, for example, Rachel, my INFJ woman, is at 7, and that means that she and I get along very well because we expect each other to be very resistant towards the demands of the external, that we do things now. And as a consequence, I might tell Rachel, I'll definitely make that video, but it might require several asks plus us watching this Katherine Fauvre video before I actually do it. And she's not busting my chops about that because she's the same way. She's accustomed to the fact that if she doesn't feel like it, that's it. If I'm not feeling it, if it's like, I don't want to do that, then that's it. So note the concrete examples I'm giving. This is the difference between somebody who's mixing NI and SI kinds of knowing and explaining together to offer you a meaningful analytical understanding of TryTypes versus her, who I'm convinced is an ENTJ SI polar. Not a single concrete example, not even a single hypothetical example, no link meaningfully from mechanics like I'm doing to concretizations at all. Just a bunch of meaningless metaphor and not even accurate. To the extent that these correlations she's noting are there, they're actually coincidences, not correlations. I mean, they might still correlate, but they're just coincidental. Okay, so no, Kath, that's enough. I don't want you looking at me like that anymore. So this thing that Katherine Fauvre got going on, is she the world's greatest expert on TryType? Because she owns the registered trademark for the word? Fuck no. This woman's not an expert on anything that requires any thinking at all. That's why all of her video is a bunch of metaphor. These are people with discerning eyes who have a real clarity about them and passion, but who sometimes can lack directionality. Okay, why don't you say something specific? Why don't you actually say something? Oh, because, well, she only has NI tool, and if anybody uses NI tool in a shitty way, it's ENTJs. Especially like in this situation, because she's using NI tool to explain something, not to accomplish anything. But she's got TE as her dominant function, so it's like she's not explaining anything or accomplishing anything. That's why it's Katherine Fauvre's Analytical Dumpster Fire. If you want to know anything about Enneagram, it's very straightforward. Just watch this video and you get it all there is to get about it. So what kind of person is a 741? She's a gorgeous INFJ beloved wife of mine named Rachel. She's just as self-indulgent as me, less prone to anger, and just as prone to middle fingering everybody else's standards when they want to judge her unfairly. How's that for some basic description of a 741? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and sub, and tell your friends.